inequality between men and women in politics. The president of the Female Lawyers highlights the role that political parties have in ensuring that the political spectrum is open to women.
We must together create a conducive environment to ensure that women are not discouraged, disadvantaged, or discriminated upon, both de jure and de facto, both in law and in fact, whilst claiming our rights to be part and parcel of the decision-making process of our country. There must be a code of ethics for election and campaigning that inter alia prohibits any discriminatory or derogatory attack on female candidates that deprives them of the right to contest elections and to be voted into decision-making position.
The Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy said the advocacy for women representation in decision-making bodies is against the backdrop of their crucial role in society. She is convinced that their qualities make them worthwhile holders of leadership positions.
They lead from the ground up, not the top down. Women look for the support of their peers, not the votes of the rich. Women are concerned that everyone's interests and needs are being met. Women seek the confidence of other women and the support of other women. They build natural coalitions in everything they do every day.
Representing all the political parties was Halifa Sallah. In his remarks, he highlighted that Gambians should be following the modern trend and dynamics of political evolution, adding that while the traditional setting of African politics may have been less active in ensuring gender parity, the status quo now requires a different approach.
That we are living no longer in traditional societies. We are living in a modern society with a state which is sovereign, and we have emerged to build a sovereign republic. So we must also prepare the sovereign people for that sovereign republic. That can only come by transmitting new values, which will require new instruments, new institutions, which will not drop from the sky. They will come from these workshops, from these seminars, from discussions by diverse elements in our population.
He, however, emphasized that the agenda of women representation will make less gains without adequate sensitization. The various political parties ranging from the ruling APRC to DOI all welcomed the move by FLAG. They mounted the podium to tell FLAG members their temporary special measures aimed at correcting the imbalance in the political field.
The APRC as a party is a party that has been born out of a clear understanding that the entire population of the Gambia needs empowerment.
In short, one cannot address the problems of women without addressing the problem of society in general.
The UDP intends to diagnose the discrimination against women in the various sectors of the economy and address the problems they are confronted with.
There is still considerable room for improving their status in this country. There cannot be any meaningful development without the full participation of women in all aspects.
By the end of this workshop, participants from the various political parties will come up with resolutions which will reduce the gender imbalance in political participation in the Gambia. Modulamin Sise, Grts News.
It took almost 10 years to complete and probably millions of dollars to build. But this Friday, the people of Sukuta finally inaugurated one of the town's most imposing landmarks deep in the heart of the historic settlement. Mamadou Jallo reports the long-serving Imam Ismaila Bey of Sukuta used the opening of the mosque, sponsored by the wealthy Gambian millionaire Basiru Jawara, to harp on the importance of virtues of prayer as a means to attaining salvation.
The inauguration of the Grand Mosque was specially selected to coincide with Islam's holiest month and its most revered religious nights, Laylatul Qadr. Such was the mood and anticipation that hundreds turned out early to grab a space inside the mosque, whilst hundreds more spread rocks outside, braving the August rains. The inauguration of this mosque in Suda marks another important milestone in the socio-religious development of this village. Funded by the rich but reclusive businessman Basiru Jawara, the edifice took 10 years to complete and accommodates more than 1,000 worshippers, making it arguably the biggest mosque in the Gambia. This mosque is one of many sponsored by the millionaire businessman, But for Sukuterians, it is a dream come true, as this imposing landmark is a symbol of their religious harmony and social cohesion. This overwhelmingly Muslim majority community see this mosque as a victory for Islam, which has recently seen the construction and inauguration of a number of high-profile mosques throughout the country. Therefore, it was no surprise that numerous Islamic scholars and government ministers honored their invitation to this historic event, eager to reap the expected blessings associated with mosque inaugurations. As the hour finally struck, Imam Ismail Bey stood up to the occasion, delivering a short but loaded sermon, which harped on the importance of prayer as the path to salvation. The Venerable Imam, who has established a reputation for frankness and for being straightforward, urged the faithful to establish prayer as prescribed by God and his Prophet. He also called on the rich to help the poor and invest in propagating the Islamic religion. As society continues to evolve, Imam Bey called for patriotism in order to entrench peace and stability. He cautioned people against any form of agitation that could lead to social upheaval, reminding his congregation of its consequences on societies in other parts of the world. He later led the Muslims into rakat prayers.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
The congregation later dispersed while the Imam sat to continue preaching to those who stayed. The excitement that had been building for days, if not weeks, continued long after the official inauguration, as the women and children took the opportunity to also marvel at the beautiful architecture inside the mosque. They also beamed with satisfaction at the artistic display of the construction workers and the generosity of Basiru Jawara. The sheer number of people, young and old, who have come to witness this historic event is unprecedented, but not surprising, looking at a community like Sukuta that is deeply religious and proud of its religious heritage. Now that the mosque is officially open, one can only hope that the people of Sukuta and all Muslims will heed the words of their Imam by filling the mosque at all prayer times. Mamadou Diallo, reporting from Sukuta for GRTS.
Well, in case you want to monitor these stories as well as GRTS programs and also monitor GRTS Radio Live, you can visit our website at www.grts.gm. We'll go for our first break. We'll be back with news from outside the Gambia. Welcome back. At least 50 people are reported dead in a suspected arson attack on a popular casino in Mexico. The carnage has been blamed on suspected drug gangs. The Mexican government responded quickly to the violence, with President Felipe Calderon dispatching his interior minister to Monterrey to lead investigation efforts. Narco-related violence has increased in recent years, resulting to the death of over 40,000 people in recent times. We have details of that story in this report.
Fighting a war against the forces of terrorism that is linked to organized drug trafficking cartels. On Thursday, a casino in the prosperous northern industrial city of Monterrey was set on fire. At least 3 people were killed. The Casino Royale was set ablaze using some kind of flammable liquid when a commando of 6 armed men arrived in 2 vehicles. The Mexican government called it an act of terror. These unspeakable acts of terror will not go unpunished. We will pursue and capture the culprits. Mexican President Felipe Calderon sent his interior minister to Monterrey to direct the investigation in this city of 4 million and industrial capital. Casinos have recently been targeted because some owners have refused to pay protection money demanded by criminal gangs linked to narcotics trafficking, in this case the Zetas and the Gulf Cartel. Other spectacular attacks included a huge shootout at a football stadium in the city of Torreon that panicked players and spectators. In the city of Monterrey in the month of July, more than 70 people were killed. Violence linked to